The Chiefs bop the Bears, and I have some bad blood with NFL officiating. Let's talk.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
It's a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC. We are, as always, so appreciative of them and all they have done for KC Sports Network. And it's been an absolute pleasure partnering with them over the last couple years. And we look forward to continuing to support them as they support us. Emprise Bank member FDIC. Matthew Lane, hello. How are we?
Listen, it's good old Victory Monday here. Late in the afternoon, evening, nighttime, maybe morning when you listen to this. But the Chiefs are coming off a big victory. We have apparently the Chiefs having, I don't want to say fun, but doing a little shenanigans in the second half of this football game. So that is fun. So it was a good time, Craig. It was a good time. How are you? Rolling in another excellent performance from this defense.
Yeah, the defensive performance.
Flag on the field.
Oh.
You are 6 inches too far out of alignment here. It doesn't work. It happened quick. I don't know if you guys saw it. A flag again for you guys because you guys both looked away. All right, sorry. Continue. Play the down again.
Wait, Maddie, am I too far away from the mic?
No, you're good because you're not. I'm only looking for one guy.
What if my name's Jawaan Taylor?
This is a great bit, guys. I really commend you guys. We did not work on that at all. And
it wasn't planned at all, no.
Absolutely nailed this podcast sting operation that mirrors Kansas City Chiefs second half trials here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. Yeah, are we gonna just do this right off the top?
Yes.
Well, listen,
it's the biggest story today. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's already been. I'm sure some people have heard about it, talked about it, but we got takes too. So let's start it off. We'll rip off the Band-Aid. We'll come out here straight up with the Jawaan Taylor stuff right here off the top, and then we can move on after that, right?
We can go to the process. Okay. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but I got to go to the Chiefs game. Against the Bears this week.
The comment section during the post-game show let us know that they heard a rumor that you might be there. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, it was, I can confirm, sitting next to Taylor Swift. I was just cropped out of that photo right there. Funnily enough, my wife, was asking me to use my super zoomed in camera to look and pan the, the suites to see if we could find her. We tried. We played a little Where's Waldo there for a little bit. Anyway, so I got to sit in the end zone. It was awesome. So that's my favorite place to watch a game for football nerd reasons. You get the wide view, and we get this unbelievably wide open touchdown for Marquez Valdes-Scantling that gets called back with this ridiculous Jawaan Taylor nonsense again. And I just tell you, it feels like, but before we get too far into this, it does feel like they're picking on Jawaan Taylor 100%, but it also feels like they're picking the downs in the spots in which they're doing it. It feels like crucial downs and crucial moments are the perfect time to try to punish Jawaan Taylor for this. I know the Chiefs were up $1 billion, but one touchdown gets called back. I believe a third down conversion gets called back. I was losing it, especially after this wide open touchdown that we get, which was fun to see. It was fun. It was a fun moment. It's literally Marquez Valdes-Scantling is walking in the direction I am sitting, and then he's walking. It's kind of fun to watch how much he pulled up, how fast the safety was closing. He just knew, but he was still just kind of just walking with a little swag. The very next play, Patrick Mahomes rolls his ankle. A play that he did not have to be on the field if the NFL was not picking on him, because Bengals truther Chris Collinsworth is going out of his way to try to bring attention to the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty because his $50 million quarterback isn't good enough to beat Patrick Lavon Mahomes. But I'm so mad that the next play, after this ridiculous illegal formation call, he gets hurt. You want to know, like, if the NFL's wanting to prove a point, that's great. But do you know what's worse for the NFL than Jawaan Taylor lining up where every single right tackle in the NFL lines up? Patrick Mahomes being hurt. That was worse for the NFL. I was fuming. I was absolutely fuming. The one game I watched Patrick Mahomes play, first off, he only plays half a game because they're absolutely beating the brakes off the Bears. I was fine with it after the ankle injury, though. But come on. Like, what? Ugh. It was an unnecessary play. He didn't even have to be on the field. And here we are. I'll tell you what, that was a terrible 10 minutes to be sitting there watching him struggle, watching the next two passes he throws have no velocity to them because he's just, like, trying to tough out the rest of the half. I'm sorry. I was mad. I was very, very mad.
You were? You sure you were mad, buddy?
It's driving me nuts, man. And it's like they could have cost the Chiefs dearly. Like if that injury was worse, I would have called into the post. I would have called into the post.
Hang on. Yeah. No. This was getting ready to be good. What would you have done?
I would have wrote a sternly worded letter.
Oh, not the Swanson letter.
I'm sorry. I was quite angry. It made me mad.
I get why we're all mad about how it played out. I don't get too upset over like the needless injury nonsense about it because that can happen any given play. That could have been any other penalty.
It wasn't going to happen at all because it would have been a touchdown. He would have wore a visor the rest of the game.
Yeah, it stinks that it happened and it was unfortunate, especially on a call that I fully disagree with. However, that part doesn't mess with me. Like it could have been an actual holding penalty that could have been called. Not that he held, just like it could have been any penalty and they would have to replay it. It's like that part doesn't get me up in arms like it does Kent. I do agree with the general sentiment. And I want to ask your opinion here, Kent. You weren't here. So I propose this. It seems to me like they are catching Jawaan Taylor a lot of times with these illegal formations when he is covered up by a wide receiver aligned a little bit tighter to the formation. So if both of his penalties are coming with once with Kelsey and once with MVS and a little bit tighter split on the line of scrimmage from the slot, and you can actively see the ref trying to break his neck to look around. Now, how that works if you're trying to look down the line of scrimmage when you're aligning with the belt line, I don't know. But you can see a referee trying to look around traffic from where he's aligned. So my theory is they're not picking and choosing plays, but what's happening is when Jawaan Taylor is covered up, a referee saying, it looks like he's in the gray area, and then they're just chucking the flag just because. I mean, and now, according to Andy Reid, hey, maybe they feel like they're targeting a guy unfairly for a certain reason. We're going to get to that in a second. It's just, you didn't get to hear that theory from me. So like, that was just something I lobbed out there because that's where I seem to see it happen a little bit. Because you're right. It's not every play.
I think that's a fantastic theory. I want to examine it further. It still does not justify that I'm literally watching Orlando Brown line up next to Joe Burrow in this game that's currently being played right now. And that he's living in the backfield before and after the snap, if you know what I mean. That's an interesting theory, and it definitely, I mean, it makes some sense. I mean, it probably doesn't help the optics, and they're not, if it gets to that point, they're not giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? But here's the thing. How many teams are they cricking their neck to try to find them? Try to see where the left tackle, because the Chiefs are not the only team to line up in a reduced split. So it's still ridiculous. It's still definitely targeted towards him. Like, I get what you're saying. And shout out Chris Collinsworth, Bengals, psyop for doing, his work here to try to put bad PR on the Chiefs. But I'm literally watching Jonah Williams line up the same place that Jawaan Taylor is right now. Like, it's ridiculous. So please continue, Matthew. Please cook.
Oh, no, that was all I had. I just wanted to talk about, people heard my general thoughts on the game, the calls from the game already. And I think they heard most of Craig's, right? And so I just wanted to throw that theory to you. I mean, we have a little bit of news from Andy that, maybe alters a little bit of what we're saying. So I was just wanting to get your opinion on that before I let Craig get his takes on the illegal formations off.
Well, I mean, got my takes off yesterday. I posited that maybe Andy was upset with, Jawaan Taylor playing in kind of the gray area, wanted him aligned a little closer to the line of scrimmage. It does not appear that Andy Reid has the problem with that maybe I posited there. So I'll admit to being wrong on that one because Andy Reid, after this call gets made, specifically the one against MVS, that's the most egregious one where Jawaan Taylor's clearly lined up correctly. It was not illegal formation. So now all of a sudden, Andy Reid pulls him out of the game. We see Prince Tega Winogo go in there. We see Donovan Smith there. Our good pal, Charles Goldman, writes, again, this is not direct quote from Andy or anything like that, writes, per source, the Chiefs trotted those guys out there, aligned them deeper on purpose because they have a reffing crew that is calling this and singling out Jawaan Taylor and saying this man is lining up incorrectly. So they purposefully align these guys deeper. They don't make it super egregious up to the depth that Jawaan Taylor was lining up. And they say, okay, let's see what happens here. What happens? No flags. Nothing whatsoever. Same crew that's craning their neck alongside some of these condensed formations to try and see where Jawaan Taylor is. They trot these guys out there. What happens? Nothing, with the exact same alignment. Now, that gives Andy Reid plenty of fodder to go talk to the referees. Andy Reid comes out in his presser today, and he reiterates, and so does Patrick LaVon Mahomes, that this guy is being unfairly picked on. So look around the league. Look where it is. I know what the league's going to say in this sort of scenario. They're going to come back and they're going to say, hey, listen, I'm talking to every crew. You guys just happen to get a super picky crew. Now Andy gets to turn around and say, well, look what happened over here. Look at how deep our guys were aligned that weren't Jawaan Taylor. Where's the flag for that? Why aren't they calling that? This is clearly a singled out thing. And I'm sure Andy Reid doesn't write anything down because he knows the Stringer Bell rule as well. He's not going to claim that he's out here with some sort of conspiracy, but he clearly tried something out there, clearly tried to get the refs to throw that flag for anybody not named Jawaan Taylor, and this reffing crew just swallowed their whistle entirely. It's egregious. We're now to the point, I don't like wearing the conspiracy theory hat, but we are now to the point where it's there, and it's hard to ignore.
I love that the Chiefs had 30 minutes of football to prove a point because they were beating the brakes off another NFL team, though. Mm-hmm. We do need to talk about that. Jonah Williams, Joe Burrow just got sacked by Aaron Donald. Jonah Williams was lined up even with the tight end who was off the line of scrimmage just now, just so you guys know.
Was there a flag for that, though?
No flag.
Oh,
well,
okay.
No, and it could have been illegal formation in multiple ways because, I mean, the tight end was on the line of scrimmage, too. They had too many men on the line of scrimmage. Apparently, because that's the rules for the Cincinnati Bengals and Chris Collinsworth.
I mean, just to drive this home, right? There's been, I believe now, 3 illegal formation penalties on offensive tackles since week 1, when they announced they were emphasizing this rule after including multiple players as examples for what not to do.
Yep.
All 3 of those penalties are on Jawaan Taylor. Not a single one is on another player. The Chiefs not only put in a different right tackle, they specifically had Donovan Smith align further than he normally would so that they would just see what happens. And nobody cares. Nobody cares that Lane Johnson is getting off even faster than Jawaan Taylor is off the ball. Granted, this isn't a legal formation. This is him, getting the false start, the snap jump. But hey, Jawaan Taylor got a penalty for that last week too. So it's very clearly a targeted thing. And it all started with Chris Collinsworth getting his little panties in a bunch on primetime opening night of the football season and just making a big deal about it. And the NFL felt they had to respond. They politicaled it up. They made it sound like it was for everybody when it very clearly was a rule or an emphasis based around one single player. And if it wasn't for the fact that player played for the Kansas City Chiefs, who are your reigning Super Bowl champions, it probably wouldn't matter. If Jawaan Taylor was still in the Jaguars, nobody would care that he's doing this. No. Nobody would care at all. We call those champagne problems.
Jawaan Taylor has zero illegal formation penalties in his career before joining the Kansas City Chiefs. Guess what, guys? He's aligning way closer to the line of scrimmage right now than he ever was in Jacksonville.
And Craig, the Cincinnati Bengals have 0 0 rings. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Everybody that's hanging out with us here on a Victory Monday night, talking about Chiefs Bears. We haven't even really talked much about the game at all, but
let's get to the game.
It's time. It is time. We'll start with the defense because, of course, we need to start with the defense. We need to start with Craig's defense. There's so much to unpack. Like, I think it's kind of hard. I don't want to make any sweeping declarations after this game. Like, the Bears are so bad.
Yep.
They are so bad. I think they have some of, like, again, I got to watch end zone view for the entirety of the game. Like, it was kind of like I got the all 22 view for the entirety of the game. It was schematically football malpractice what the Chicago Bears are doing right now. They are doing everything to not accentuate the strengths of their quarterback, try to turn him into a traditional drop back without any great route structure to their offense. It felt very siloed route structure where nothing was playing off each other. No easy completions, no great attempts to try to get your best player, DJ Moore, the ball. So, like, I get, like, yes, I want to talk about the defense, but it also, like, I'm not trying to make huge declarations about this team because it was the Bears, but at the same time, we've got a sample size of this defense being awesome for 3 straight games. So you got to kind of take both of those things into consideration. And what we saw from the defense was quite good, Matthew.
I mean, it was. They, Cairo Santos revenge game, got rid of the shutout, and then they let up a garbage time touchdown.
They were booing so hard when they went for the field goal.
I'm sure.
The fans were so great.
I
Should
bet.
have been
Santos.
Blaine Gabbert for throwing that interception and immediately setting him up at field goal range.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
That's also true. But hey, Santos, the reason that Mahomes has to wear number 15. Anywho, so yeah, now he gets the revenge. He gets the points on the board. But, like, realistically, the defense for when things mattered did absolutely positively everything you would want from them. Oh, and by the way, their best player, Chris Jones, played hardly any snaps, especially in the second quarter. Like, it was still somewhat a game. Not a game. Sorry, I take that back. It wasn't a complete blowout in the second quarter. It was on its way there, but it wasn't a complete blowout yet.
It got ugly late. It was like 21-0, and then you blinked and it was 34-0.
Chris Jones was hanging out on the sideline more than he was getting on the field for the defense. Nick Bolton, who is one of their 5 best defenders, isn't even playing in this game, and it doesn't matter. The Bears can't do anything. I'm with Kent. I think the Bears offense is in disarray right now. I don't know. They need to blow it up. They need to blow it up now. They could just go run the triple option and it would be better. They need to figure out what to do on that side of the ball, but it's still nice to see a defense come out and dominate an opponent that it's supposed to. This Chiefs defense, we talked about it, year after year, no matter how bad the opponent is on offense, or sometimes even on defense, they don't dominate them in the way they always should. A lot of times when they're going up against a team that they are supposed to completely smother, they don't. This defense came out, and I mean, from that very first drive, after they gave up, a first down or two, they said, nah, we're done with this. And then they just tightened down, and the Bears had to fight tooth and nail for literally everything, and they still got nowhere until the Chiefs were deep into, like, we don't really care what happens anymore from here.
Yeah, very deep into, we don't really care what happens from here. As a matter of fact, into the fourth quarter, the middle of the fourth quarter, before the Chiefs just went, all right, it's the Jack Cochran and Leo Chanel show, and we're going to see what happens here. Those are valuable reps for those guys, valuable reps for Felix Anudike-Uzomah and Neil Farrell that are playing some of the most snaps that they have. Well, certainly Neil Farrell. He wasn't active until this week, but the most snaps that Felix has played, sure, they are going to be up against a bad team in garbage time and all of that. Those all still matter. And it's all set up by the fact that the Chiefs came out and allowed a bad team to do nothing. Yes, the Bears offense is anemic, if I'm being kind. Like, it's really, really, really bad. But they looked even worse than that offense probably is. I've watched plenty of Bears this season already.
Well, you live in the mountains of Colorado, so I could see you watching plenty.
Yeah, just looking out the window, seeing plenty of them. Yeah. Good joke, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Did I just dox you? Like, do people know you moved to Colorado?
Yeah, people know.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, I watched the two previous games to kind of look and see what they were doing on offense. They have moments still. Like those receivers, DJ Moore's a good football player. And the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs took him away for most of the day. And I mean, we saw the targets that he was in single coverage, and he was pretty blanketed for most of the day. Even the completions that he had were pretty blanketed. It's just fun to watch a defense that does not know any better, isn't looking at a team and saying, oh man, yeah, this is going to be easy. They're going to roll over. Look at the rings on our fingers. We got this. I'm not saying that other Chiefs teams definitely did that, but there were eggs that were laid by this defense against bad football teams before. That was not the case this weekend here. Yeah, the Bears against air, they probably still lose that game, but the Kansas City Chiefs defense blanking them until the middle of the fourth quarter, that's hard to do regardless of how bad an NFL offense is.
Yeah. One of the just kind of like small storylines, I guess, defensively that I thought was kind of good to see is, this team got challenged. The outside corners got challenged vertically down the sideline several times in that game. The Bears tried to take some shots on the outside. And I think largely the cornerbacks, the young cornerbacks specifically, did a pretty good job playing, staying in phase, playing the ball well, blanketing them at the catch point. So like some little things you can take away from the throws were mostly terrible, but just the process was good for them trying to work those fades outside. So getting to see some of that kind of stuff, which I mean, that was like what constituted the vertical aspect of this offense. For like, it was so bad. I can't tell you. I'm just like, honestly, like I'm telling you, like I'm just perplexed by how bad of choices the Bengals offense or the Bears offense was making. Like high school route concepts. Like why not try to use Justin Fields' legs as a weapon? I don't know. Like
this isn't a Bears podcast, Kent. Let's talk about how the Chiefs stopped them.
Okay.
You know what's really cool? Trent McDuffie being so good that L'Jarius Sneed, who we've praised for years for being a great corner at everything besides the coverage stuff, and not that he's bad at the coverage, just he's been elite at everything besides the coverage aspect. Trent McDuffie's been so good that they have moved L'Jarius Sneed out of the slot, out of the position to do all of those non-coverage corner things so that Trent McDuffie can do it. And outside blitzing, and I don't even know there, he might be just as good, if not better, than L'Jarius Sneed at all this stuff. And what this also allows is Sneed to go play on the outside. And now you take this really fast, long, rangy cornerback that struggles changing directions, that struggles with two-way goes out of the slot. That is where his issues in coverage have been, is when he has to deal with a wide receiver setting him up, squaring their hips up with them, and then running across the field horizontally. You remove that from his docket, and now all Sneed's asked to do is essentially to run vertically. Yes, he will still chase guys across the field in man coverage, but for the most part, he's just getting to play vertical and use his length and his speed and the sideline and his physicality. I think it's making him a lot better player in coverage. I think this has been one of Sneed's better coverage years here to start, and he's getting challenged by opposing teams' number one wide receivers. Yeah, he may have lost a rep or two to Calvin Ridley. Yeah, he may have lost a rep or two to DJ Moore. Guess what? I'm talking about like really good wide receivers that he's matched up with all game long. So like, we talk a lot about Trent McDuffie being good, and I'm never going to stop anybody from doing that. Been on the Trent McDuffie bandwagon since day one here, but I really like what it means for L'Jarius Sneed because it's allowing him to play, I think, in a better position for him. And now he's showcasing a different skill set that I think that we as Chiefs fans kind of got away from seeing. It's been a while since Sneed has looked like a lockdown or a high-end coverage corner. He's been a guy that does everything else, and now we're getting back to that because they finally put him on the outside. So I love that move for the Chiefs, and it seems to be paying big dividends here early on.
Yeah, through 3 games right now, I've got L'Jarius Sneed at a 14% target rate by the opposing offense. That is the highest of any player wearing a Chiefs uniform, and it shows. Like you see, there's a lot of times that teams are targeting L'Jarius Sneed. They're targeting L'Jarius Sneed because he's following the other team's number one receiver all over the field there. L'Jarius Sneed is allowing 6 yards per completion and has a 56% success rate. That means he wins more often than he loses. That's very positive as a corner. The next highest targeted player in the Chiefs secondary is Trent McDuffie. He's allowing 5.1 yards per target, but a 63% success rate. That's unheard of. And frankly, it's second on the team to Joshua Williams, who has seen significantly fewer targets, and he gets to use the boundary a lot more than Trent McDuffie does. It is impressive to go down this list and look at it as it stands right now. This is through 3 games. The Kansas City Chiefs don't have a corner under a 50% success rate. They have played some good wide receivers. They have played some good offenses in the Detroit Lions and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know what the Jaguars did this week, but they were still a good offense. It doesn't matter. We can look at the Bears and say, oh, yeah, they were terrible. They were absolutely just a pile of dog poop on fire on somebody's porch. That's how bad they were. But this defense, this secondary in particular, we've talked a lot about the front 7. We've talked a lot about the linebacker play, the defensive line. This secondary has been so good for Steve Spagnuolo. And it's amazing to sit here and watch a bunch of guys that are in their second year of the program here outside of L'Jarius Sneed performing at the level that they are. It's really, truly a treat to watch.
Think about just L'Jarius Sneed and his usage, with Sneed, he's had some issues, injury, concerns. He's had some concussions in his career, keeping him away from some of that contact too might not be the worst thing for his longevity either. Keeping him outside might help protect his body a little bit because, he's definitely seen, the ramifications, like the first play against the Bengals. Where'd that happen? Closer to the box. He might have lined out outside. I can't remember. But you see what I'm saying. You get the point. It might be helping him stay away a little bit from some of that physicality that he might be experiencing. Yeah, I thought Trent McDuffie was awesome. He was good in the run game, obviously making that play on the ball, forcing the fumble. I mean, he's a blue chip. I think we've got enough of a sample size to call him a blue chip. And that's a significant piece for and a feather in the cap for Brett Veach. Good receipt for the KCSN draft guide who had him number 16 overall player in that draft. But no, it's great to see. Anything next, whatever you want to talk about on defense, Craig, what's the thing that got you most excited?
Oh, man. Let's see. Outside of the secondary, I really like that Steve Spagnuolo continued to mix things up. He showed a lot more of the 3-2 dime defense that we have seen in the past. That's not something that's brand new to this year, but its usage was far more increased. It makes perfect sense. You've got Willie Gay and Drew Tranquill on the field together with 3 down linemen. Typically it was George Karlaftis, Mike Dana. I'm sorry, everybody in the postgame show yesterday for saying Dana repeatedly. I'm very sorry. Mike Dana and Chris Jones on the field, or Turk Wharton. Using Willie Gay Jr. as a spy in that scenario is, frankly, some of his best usage that the Chiefs can get in a game like this, where you're not going to see a ton of stuff flashing across his face, a ton of things that he can operate in the intermediate middle of the field. This offense is basically all go, downfield or running the ball between the tackles. And those aren't necessarily things that Willie Gay Jr. affects the game in the same way. We saw lots of times, I know that Willie Gay Jr. overran a couple of sacks this week, but I thought that he did a really good job of still maintaining contain on a lot of plays, particularly when the game went along. He did a good job keeping Justin Fields in the pocket. And that's exactly what you wanted to do. Yeah, Justin Fields is terrible in the pocket. Make sure he doesn't break contain and use his legs in a way that can hurt you. The couple of times that we saw Justin Fields do that and make terrific scrambles were the plays that Willie Gay Jr. thought he had an avenue towards him and wasn't able to close up the play all the way. That'll happen. That's just fine. He learned from it as the game went along. We talked a lot about Willie kind of not necessarily the same opportunities as other linebackers. This is a prime opportunity for him to see the field and impact the game. And I felt like he really did, keeping Justin Fields in check.
I mean, I think this goes back to something we talked about earlier, is the Joe Cullen effect on just this entire team. And I know Willie Gay's, linebacker, he's not just working with Joe Cullen, but you see it with the pass rush too. These guys are playing such good fundamental football, and like they're working together in unison, and it goes to keeping all these quarterbacks in the pocket, not just a guy like Justin Fields, but we saw it with Trevor Lawrence. We've seen it, even Jared Goff's not going to move as much, but we saw them working together, right? We saw that continuity kind of growing, and it's there. It's very evident. And I think that's a good realization of Steve Spagnuolo, Joe Cullen, and all the players on this team of the direction this league is going. The Chiefs secondary is good enough to shut down the primary route concept, the primary play call. Then now, to win a Super Bowl, you are also going to have to stop the second reaction plays from Joe Burrow's, from Jalen Hurts's, from Josh Allen's, from so on and so forth.
Maybe not Joe Burrow. He may not be in the playoffs. Anyways, continue.
And so you have to shut down the second reaction play of all of these guys. Well, to do that, you got to have defensive linemen in the correct spots. You can't get out of your rush lane and give them these open avenues. Patrick Mahomes, literally has been the guy that kind of pushed the NFL in this direction. And what he does, and you see teams try to do it against him all the time. Thankfully, he's a magician and he still finds a way to navigate through it. But not every quarterback is going to be able to do it at the same rate Patrick Mahomes has. See Matt Stafford trying to sidearm stuff around just a little bit ago. So not every team can do it. So I think the way this defense is playing right now is very good for them. I think it's going to go a long way, especially come playoff time. Yeah, it might not lead to a ton of sacks all the time. The sacks might be spread around. George Karlaftis is playing fantastic football. The sacks he is getting are just cleanup sacks. His best rushes aren't resulting in sacks at all. His best plays, his most impressive plays aren't the ones he's really collecting these stats on, but that doesn't matter. People aren't chasing individual stats. I think that's really big for the youngest defense in the NFL to understand in a week 3 coming off of a Super Bowl winning season. That's pretty big.
No, it's huge. No sophomore slump so far for this defense. You're seeing a lot of these second-year players still hungry. And, I think we go back to Steve Spagnuolo throwing Najee Johnson out there, throwing Nick Jones out there. He's throwing Khalif Halasse and Echo Boydo out there. Echo Boydo wound up not making the team. And this is not knocking Echo. Don't make it out to be that. It's
a tough room to be in.
A tough room to be in, but it's also, I think it's kind of Steve Spagnuolo was not going to let some of these young guys, and this coaching staff was not going to let some of these young guys rest on what they did last year. And I think some of these players just have the right mentality in general, right? Trent McDuffie's getting some new challenges, which is just big. And George Karlaftis is just just listen to the man talk. I think he's totally fine with doing exactly what he's doing right now. So I feel like, it's been good to see this young group. Justin Fields, and this isn't ducking on Justin Fields here. We talk about Steve Spagnuolo mixing some things up. He was not seeing things clearly, scheme or not, was not seeing things clearly, holding on to the ball too long, wasn't always resulting in sacks, to your point. But he just the plays were dead, and second reaction plays weren't a thing. This team was really good with second reaction plays. I'm thinking of one play where, he tried Justin Fields, kind of fit one into Cole Kmet when he was
working across his body. Yeah.
And honestly, I rewatched it a few times, and there's nobody that should have fallen off of pursuing Justin Fields to pick up Cole Kmet. It was just a great play by Fields. So even the second reaction stuff was it wasn't too bad. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Hey guys, it's Benny Heiss from Benny and the Bets, and when it comes to improving your golf performance, there is nothing quite like a PXG custom club fitting experience with a true PXG fitting specialist. This data-driven fitting is going to help determine the right club heads, perfect loft, lie, and shafts to be able to completely transform and change your game, and also lower your scores in the process. So no matter your skill level, you can be fitted for PXG's flagship Gen 6 clubs. They're designed to deliver incredible gains in distance, accuracy, and forgiveness. And for a limited time, you can use the code PXG75 when you sign up for a custom fit and get 75% off your fitting at pxg.com. Or you can give their store in Kansas City a call at 913-396-6100.
Thanks, everybody that is hanging out with us tonight. Again, we appreciate you and your support of KC Sports Network. It was really nice running into some of you at Arrowhead this weekend. Thank you for some of the nice things you said. It was fun. I got to run into Patrick Fee over at Holiday Distillery. Went over to Lot J, hung out with him for a little bit. Got to meet the wonderful people at Bad Shelter Farms. They were
you
awesome.
at the game or something?
Yeah, I was. But I still got to tailgate as well. And it was
beef of the week. Kent Swanson versus the referees.
Ooh.
It's just Tucker clipping the first 15 minutes of the show.
I think, yeah, Beef of the Week's my favorite thing ever. I love it so much. But I think Jawaan was last week, so me versus them about Jawaan Taylor might just be too close to home.
It's really Rasheed versus the end zone. I think that's like the low-hanging fruit.
Poor guy.
We should just do you have anything else about the defense, or can we move on to the offense?
I mean, it's hard to have much else. They beat a bad team and made them look really bad. Like we'll see. They're not going to play a good offense for a little while now. Just keep handling.
Yeah, and I'd said the Chargers is the good offense they're going to play. They just lost Mike Williams for the season, and let's be real. Keenan Allen had like 18 targets. That dude's hamstrings are a really old rubber band that you found underneath the refrigerator. Like, you don't know how much longer they're going to last if he's getting 18 targets.
Listen, the Broncos, I can't. I just can't. No, I can't.
You know, I saw some people saying, like, some Broncos fans saying that they were getting text messages from people saying they're feeling bad for him.
Not a chance.
I don't feel bad for him at all. I'm going to just enjoy every second of it. It's just...
Go past that a tree, Quinn Miners.
They make it very easy to not like them. Are the Broncos your least favorite AFC West team, Maddie?
Oh, they're probably my favorite AFC West team. Besides the Chiefs. I probably have the least ill will towards the Broncos compared to the Chargers and the Raiders.
That's so weird.
I mean, okay, I brought this up in the chat a little bit yesterday, but like, how hard is it for an AFC West team that's not named the Chiefs to find a competent coach or front office? Like, it's getting bad. Like, to the point now where, like, watching Josh McDaniels salt away that game yesterday was yikes. Sean Payton, the Broncos paid a first round and a second round pick to watch him get 70 balled by his former ball boy. And then you got the Chargers and Brendan Staley, who is still there for some reason. And
he's trying to throw his job away.
He really is.
Guys,
he doesn't know.
The offense finally showed a pulse, and we're 40 minutes into the show and haven't talked about them.
Let's go to the
real
offense.
quick. Brendan Staley, didn't he go for it on 4th and 1 from his own 24 to try to ice the game too?
Yes,
Yeah.
He should have lost the game, and then they tried like a fullback trap play or something that got stuffed because the Vikings were not about to get run on all game long. It was a terrible decision.
It's so funny. It's just all hilarious. I'm sorry. I'm just enjoying it thoroughly. I don't feel any level of sympathy, and I'd rather continue to watch it go the way it is. Yeah, the offense definitely showed a pulse, and Travis Kelce looked healthier, and the consistency of the receivers around him, everything just kind of started to look a lot more normal, or comfortable. The level of comfort seems to be there a lot more, to at least the point where maybe it's not perfect all the time, but Mahomes is willing to fire the ball a little bit, even when maybe, I saw some frustrations here and there with some guys and going over and making some comments and stuff. It looked like about some routes and stuff, but I mean, largely it felt like he was firing the ball confidently, seeing things well, and some of these other guys were starting to get involved a little bit. Matthew.
Well, it looks like they, are getting close to getting out of the woods with this troubles on the offensive side of the ball here, because Travis Kelce's back. And that fixes so many issues, right? Like we saw it a couple times in this game, whether it's a third down or just the quick reactions and Travis Kelce quickly reading out the play and saying, oh, yeah, maybe I'm supposed to run this to the numbers at 13 yards, but what if I maybe go to the hash mark at 18 yards and Pat's going to find me because that's where he's going to look for me right away. Just having that guy that that's going to be there, I think it allows Pat, that's Patrick LeVon Mahomes for you, Kent, to play with more confidence. And you saw a guy that was out there, I think, throwing the football with more confidence. Even that very first incompletion to Rashee Rice where he kind of settles down and doesn't keep carrying upfield. Clearly a mistake by Rice. I do think the play is drawn up for him to sit down. It's just he has to know to keep moving to the open space there, right? Like that's on a rookie, but you still saw Pat rip it incredibly confidently. He wasn't doing that at the same level versus the Lions or even the Jags, especially later in the game. So like, I think you just saw him get out there and get more confident. He felt more comfortable with what he had because 87 was going to be there. He was going to be doing exactly what needed to be done on any given play. And that kind of spread over to Pat playing better with everyone else. For the most part, the guys didn't let him down this game either. They gave him no reason to really doubt. Like, yeah, a rookie didn't quite go to the exact right spot on the first drive. You kind of get over that pretty quick when it's a rookie who doesn't make an onside adjustment immediately and tries to settle down with, again, what I think is the right route that's called. So like there was no reason for him to play unconfidently. And like that showed up. There was a reason he was throwing every pass with his chest again. There was a reason he was scrambling with his eyes downfield and not scrambling to run like he was against the Lions. Great performance all around, but I like seeing them kind of get their swagger back there.
Yeah. And obviously Travis Kelce being on the field helps a ton, but I don't think that any of us realized how much it was going to open up for Rashee Rice. The Chicago Bears still don't know how to defend that route that Rice ran multiple times in the middle of the field. I call it a glance, call it like a skinny post, call it something like that. But Travis Kelce lining up, as the Y there and dragging across the field, pulled all of the coverage, every last bit of it away from Rashee Rice. And those are the sorts of things that we saw Juju Smith-Schuster do last year and really find some success, kind of filling in those empty spaces that, that Travis Kelce left behind there. If Rashee Rice can get into this a little bit quicker, eliminate that one bad drop a game that we're all just becoming accustomed to. If he can get rid of some of those little mental errors here, I think he's so due to be a big part of this offense. Just filling in that zone, filling in those areas behind Travis Kelce and using that explosion to get upfield quickly as soon as he has the ball in his hands. We got to see that rhythm a little bit more this week. You're starting to see a little bit more of the picture of what this offense looks like. I know that Sky Moore, doesn't have a game that you look at on the stat sheet and you're like, wow, he really impressed this week. He did. Like, I felt like this is more what I expected of Sky Moore. Give him a few more volume targets, have him convert some of that stuff, these 7-8 yard chunks, not the big pass play down the sideline that we saw last week. This was more of what I expected out of Sky Moore. If they get that Sky Moore for the rest of the year, that sort of stuff, throw him 4 passes, have him be 40 to 60 yards every single week. That is a massive boon for this offense when you've got Travis Kelce, you've got the explosion of Rashee Rice, you've got the ability to get vertical with MVS and Justin Watson, who were both, once again, pretty good. The wide receiver room, for all of the kind of disheartening nature of it in week 1, has really looked, I think, what we had hoped that it would look like early on in the season. It's not perfect, far from it, but I think we can look at this group and say, you're dealing with the building blocks and the growing pains of a young group, but the future is so bright because you can see how all of these guys can win within this offensive structure.
And I think we all knew week 1 was going to be potentially rock bottom for that group, right? Like, I think we all acknowledged it's going to be hard to be worse, and it hasn't been worse in 2 games since, and it's been better, and this group has gotten better. And good on the Chiefs for trying to figure out how to get these guys involved early in some of these games, trying to get them really involved and keep firing and keep growing. It looked like Rashee Rice and Justin Ross were getting some different opportunities early in the game. They were on the field together a couple times, I believe in like a 12 personnel. They might have been the only receivers on the field if I'm remembering correctly.
They did a couple times, especially I think especially out of the red zone. There was, I mean, not especially, but there was probably one or two in the red zone where they were on the field together, and then I think maybe on the first drive as well.
First drive, yeah, and like I think Mahomes' first pass, they tried to throw it to Justin Ross. I personally, just watching from that angle, think he needs to attack the ball a little bit more than he did. He kind of let it come into him.
He should have caught it.
He should have caught it, and I think he probably should have like kind of worked towards the football a little bit on that. Personally, just watching it, they just kind of looked like he tried to let it come into him a little bit too much. But I just, it seems like this group continues to just get more and more comfortable, more and more confident. And Mahomes is starting to believe it as well. And Rashee Rice, man, I said it a while back. He's the ceiling for this group. I think he's the one that can really be the one that's going to kind of elevate this group in a big, big way. And he's got, I mean, I think he leads the receivers in targets now. I think I saw. I wish I could credit whoever. I believe he leads the all receivers in credit in targets for the Chiefs.
Well, he did get volume fed right there at the end of that Bears game.
You would be correct. He has 14 targets. Travis Kelce is first with 17 in 2 games.
Yeah.
Then Rashee Rice has got 14, and then Sky Moore 13, Justin Watson 12.
So there you go. And I get
11, 10, 9, 8, 7. That's other receivers, by the way.
Kadarius Toney with 11 targets and 35 yards. Yikes.
Today's not the day to have the Kadarius Toney conversation.
Yeah, we won't, but I just saw that. Ugh.
But I mean, did he play after like the first play?
No,
he played 2 snaps. He played one on the second or third drive. I don't know if he re-aggravated an injury. If they knew that, not even that quickly though, I don't think that they knew it was going to be a blowout. So like, I don't know. But from what we have seen too, you know, you can use Rashee Rice in a lot of the same ways you can use Kadarius Toney. It seems to be like there's a little bit of overlap in their skill set. No, they haven't been giving Rice a ton of like the end around stuff, and he doesn't have that level of speed. But in terms of in the passing game, you can give him a lot of the same actual work in the passing game. I'm excited for Rice to get some more what's called them real routes. Like a lot of right now, he's just running little spacing routes, getting the ball and turning it into yak. Love it. It's great. It's getting him involved, and they've tried to get him on some crossers and stuff. I'm excited for real routes, but the best thing he did in this game, even better than all the yak, his blocking. He's probably the Chiefs' best blocking wide receiver right now. They're putting him in there to go dig out linebackers. They're putting him in there to go fit up on safeties that are trying to come in and fill the run. Like it really stands out. They are trying to get him in there, especially in the slot, and then run kind of his direction or have him come insert into the actual like run play and take on a linebacker. So like you're getting a rookie wide receiver that's creating yak and blocking well. I'm with you. There's a lot of ceiling there, and he's doing a lot of the dirty work stuff that you don't always get from young guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, that drop per game, you eliminate that, all of a sudden Andy Reid's going to trust you a lot more to do a lot of stuff. We have seen that when guys make repeated mistakes and repeated drops, they don't get those opportunities. Andy Reid kind of puts them on ice for a little bit to get their heads right, you know, not trying to put too much on their plate, but that's got to improve. If that improves, I think that this is, you know, he has the chance to be the Chiefs' leading wide receiver in yards, which right now is Justin Watson. For those of you who are not paying all the way attention, it is Justin Watson. Yeah, Travis Kelce didn't play week 1, but Justin Watson on merit right now leading the team in receiving yards.
I'm gonna do some quick math here real quick. While I'm doing that, I do want to say something. And you talk about blocking, right? And Justin Watson is like also another guy that's gotten a lot of, you know, credit for his blocking in the past. Well, that's the kind of stuff that's the kind of stuff that gets you opportunities to make plays on the field when you are a good blocker. And when you can, you know, get those kind of opportunities, some other chances will fall into your lap because you earn your opportunities as a blocker and stuff like that. So, that's something he keeps doing that. Good things are going to happen to him and opportunities are going to keep coming his way. I wanted to do some quick math right now. It appears to me per the KC Laboratory Analytics Department, which is better than Collinsworth's PFF department. Just another Collinsworth joke. Shout out the people at PFF.
This calculator works slow.
The calculator is just really long-winded.
Is it 895 yards? Is that what you're trying to figure out? That's Justin Watson's season-long total.
Rashi Rice's season projection is 612 yards.
Yeah,
that is not the typical. I mean, that's a pretty good number. That's what's gonna do. That's gonna double Sky Moore and then some. Yeah. He might pass Sky Moore before Halloween. In fact, he probably will pass really Sky Moore's stats.
You're talking about his last year, Sky Moore's last year.
His rookie.
Oh, yeah. Sky Moore, as a matter of fact, if he plays like he did the last 2 games, Sky Moore in essentially 2 games is going to pass his last year total. Yeah. Like that, he's going to quickly do that. I think that I will be curious at the end of the season here if the Chiefs have a 1,000-yard wide receiver. Again, Travis Kelce, I think we expect him to get there eventually here. But it does seem like maybe they're pacing for a bunch of guys that are going to be in the 600 to 800 mark. And by a bunch, I mean like potentially 4 or 5. And
Watson, Valdez-Scantling, Sky, Rashi, maybe
a
another
5th one as
Kadarius
running back. Kadarius. Noah Gray already has 78 yards.
I agree with you, Bumpa. Listen. Yeah. I'm here with you. I'm with you. Yeah. Some are gonna say it's a coincidence.
I'm just saying.
When you're not trying to force the ball to a guy that doesn't play real wide receiver every other rep that he's on the field. I'm just saying.
For the audio only listeners, Maddie was reading a comment of how the offense seems to play better when Kadarius Toney is not on the field. So there was that. Real quick, around the horn before we do sticker slaps and spirits.
Perfect.
We are about a month away from the NFL trade deadline, and I know it's 3 games in. Do you think the Chiefs need to make a move at the trade deadline for an offensive skill player based on the sample size you've seen to this point? Yes or no? Matthew, you have to make a decision right now. I know it's early. Again, acknowledging it's early.
Need to know if an opportunity presents itself, they should.
Okay. Craig?
You should tune into 21 Questions this week to get my answer for that.
Is that a question on 21 Questions?
It is a question on 21 Questions that me and my good pal, His Dirkness, answered for you. So stay tuned. That's later this week.
That's what I get for not being on the Discord. Very often.
Or listening.
Right. Sticker slaps and spirits time. And if you are listening or if you are watching live, feel free. We are going to give a game ball out to somebody that of your guys' choosing. Sticker slaps and spirits here. My sticker is going to go. I'm going to go to Rashee Rice. Rashee, I want to give you something since you came short of the end zone twice. I feel like you deserved at least 1 touchdown this week. The mean old refs called you short. So I'm going to give you a sticker as consolation. Rashee Rice, I love what I'm seeing out of you. Keep playing. Hopefully Mahomes keeps firing. I'm sure he will. Matthew, butt slapping a good job. What say you?
Wait, isn't it correct? Okay.
No, never has been.
I have 2 that I wanted to get in here, and we real quick something else. So this is now a pickle that I have been presented with. So I'm going to go with my first one. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I thought he ran well. He gets a lot of flack from fans. I thought he ran really well. Actually, I think he was their best runner. I think he ran the plays the best. I think Isaiah Pacheco actually misran quite a few plays. He's just so dynamic in the open field. He makes up for it. Clyde, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. He is going to run exactly what is called, and he's going to go there, and he doesn't always get you anything extra. So fans get a little upset when the runs kind of fall short, but they're not his fault. He finds every yard that is there following the blocking scheme, following the play. They did a good job I really like the pistol outside zone for him. It didn't amount to much, but I like using that for him instead of making it so difficult. His stat line was almost identical to Isaiah Pacheco. And like I said, I thought he was actually running the plays a little bit better. So that was a real good game from Clyde. And, we got to lay off the guy. He's been very solid for the Chiefs so far as like a running back 2 for them.
Can I say something really quick before you jump in, Craig? I think the Clyde Edwards-Helaire discourse, a lot of people, when he didn't show up to the Super Bowl stuff, was just like they discarded him because they felt like it was like trade him, move on, right? But like he is a valuable asset, and he was a valuable asset, and he is a valuable asset when he's hungry or when he's healthy. And like I just think it's like the pendulum swung way too far. I think looking at him as a trade asset, it made sense, but like he deserved to be on this team and playing in some capacity. It's just, I think the idea was maybe you trade him, but I think people took him not being at the Super Bowl celebration and all that stuff as like he's a worthless player. And I think that's where the pendulum kind of swung too far.
If the blocking is good enough to get you 5 yards, he's getting you 5 yards. And Pacheco's might get you 3 yards on that same play. Now, he might also get you 10, right? Mm-hmm. That's the difference. And that's what you're playing Pacheco more for. That's why Pacheco is better. I'm not saying that. It's just Clyde is going to go where the run's supposed to. And it was very evident in this game. Look at some of Pacheco's goal line runs. He was completely avoiding his puller and not following him and bouncing it outside or going backside. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Clyde is going right through that gap. He is following Joe Thuney right into the end zone, like he was trying to do there for his touchdown. So just, shout out Clyde.
All right. My whole ass bottle of bourbon, of Ben Holiday bourbon, goes to Drew Tranquil. It has been a long time, and I have pounded the table for a long time to find a logical backup Mike linebacker for this team. And the Chiefs finally have one. This is the first time that I can remember that a player of Nick Bolton's importance to this defense, especially as important as he is to this coaching staff within this defense, when he popped up on the injury report, this week, I said, you know what? Let him rest. Like, I think that they got this. Drew Tranquil showed up. He played really well. He kept the defensive front organized really, really well. Things went about as well as you can expect from a backup Mike linebacker running the show. I was really impressed by what he brought to the table. I was really impressed by how he filled gaps in the way that Nick Bolton typically does, not necessarily the way that he's asked to play. We hear Steve Spagnuolo talk all the time about playing all over, in every single position, learning every linebacker position and wanting guys that can do that. I feel like for the first time that Drew Tranquil is that guy and can do all of that for this defense. It is so nice to have that insurance and to prevent against things like the Atlanta Falcons game happening from so long ago, 3-4 years ago, that the Chiefs were down to their backup Mike linebacker. It's nice to know that when things like this occur, they've got guys they trust. They've got guys that they can still run the full defense and call all the plays that they need to do. Drew Tranquil, shout out, whole ass bottle of bourbon for you, my friend.
Great Jimmy Buckets jersey, too.
Mm-hmm. Elite Jimmy Buckets jersey. The game ball is going out per the chat to Trent McDuffie. Well deserved for the game ball. Shout out Brent Shepard for that suggestion there. Well deserved. Blue chip Trent McDuffie, as some would call him. Thanks everybody that listened, supporting KC Sports Network. We genuinely appreciate you. It's been a fun season already so far. There's gonna be so much great content on this channel every day throughout the season. There's something for you. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch you later.
Shout out Chiefs O-line. Great protection.